So, the other day, I had just gotten home and I had a bunch of stuff to bring up from the parking garage. I didn't have any bags, so it was kind of hard to carry everything, but there was absolutely no way I was going to make 2 trips. I just had to get creative. And after stacking certain things, wedging other things between my arms and my body, and utilizing all of my fingers, I was good to go. As I was carrying my things to the door, someone else who lives in our complex drove past me. I smiled and nodded at him, and he waved back as he passed. As I got to the door, I realized my keys were still in my back pocket, so I had to put everything down in order to get them out. I opened the door and held it open with my foot while I picked everything back up. And then there was the beginnings of an awkward moment. The guy who had just gotten back to was now coming towards the door. We made eye contact again, and I saw he was carrying a bunch of stuff too, but he wasn't that close. He was right at that middle point where he was far enough away where it would be weird for me to hold open the door, but also close enough where it would be kind of rude of me not to. It kind of reminded me of this old meme, where he was here. Yeah, he was far. He was like a good 8 seconds away. 8 seconds is a long time. In any case, I didn't want to be rude, especially since we were looking at each other and he was carrying stuff too. Maybe he was about to have the same problem getting his keys out. So I smiled at him again and held the door. And I was expecting him to start that sheepish jog forward, the one that you do when someone far away from you holds the door open for you. But instead, he did something different. He was like, no, you go ahead. Oh, are you sure? Yeah, you have all that stuff, he said. Oh, okay. Well, that works too. So through the door I went. And then about 7 seconds later, I heard him come through the door himself. Now at first, this didn't really seem like a notable interaction, but the more I thought about it, the more I began to appreciate it. For one, he made that awkward situation that I initiated much less awkward than it could have been. But more importantly, he gave me the best possible path forward out of that situation. And what do I mean by that? Well, technically, I was in a bit of a lose-lose scenario. The 2 options I had would both result in a somewhat negative outcome. I could either be polite and hold the door open for him at the expense of my own time and comfort, or I could not hold the door for him and potentially come off as rude and inconsiderate. And I didn't want to be rude. So even though he was awkwardly far away, I made the decision to be polite and hold the door open for him. And what I appreciated about his response was that he recognized that he was still far away from the door and that me holding it was at my own expense. He could see that I was struggling a bit to hold on my stuff. And rather than accepting my offer of kindness, he returned it back to me by declining and giving me an easy way out. He confirmed that it was okay to not hold the door for him. And this allowed me to move forward without sacrificing my own time and comfort, but also without feeling like I was being rude. He gave me a third non-losing option out of what was initially a lose-lose scenario. Now, in the grand scheme of things, this was a very small and inconsequential interaction. Neither of these losing options had any major significance. It wasn't a big deal if I had to wait a few extra seconds for him to get to the door, or if he thought I was rude if I didn't hold it for him. Normally, I wouldn't have even given this a second thought, but this also made me think of other lose-lose scenarios that I've been in. Times where the interaction and the potential outcomes were consequential. I can think of many times where I did something just to be nice or polite when I really didn't want to. And I'm sure you've done the same. Maybe you reluctantly invited someone you don't really like to your birthday dinner just because they're in the group chat with all of your other friends. Maybe you passed on an opportunity you were really excited about because you were scared it might hurt someone's feelings. Maybe you did something you really didn't want to do for someone simply because you felt obligated to. And I'm not saying you'll always be able to get out of these situations. That's life. But these situations happen more than you think, and they don't just happen to you. Sometimes other people will put themselves in these lose-lose situations for you. They may offer you something at their own expense, maybe out of perceived obligation, or simply just to be polite. And in general, if someone does offer you something, it's usually polite for you to accept and say thank you, especially in cases where it's something small, like someone holding the door for you and allowing you to go first. But it's not polite all the time. What if you're both walking into a first come, first serve restaurant? If they were ahead of you, they should be the one to go first. But what if they let you go ahead and you end up getting the last available table, which should have been theirs? That would suck for them. And if you're like me, that would also suck for you. I would feel bad the entire time I was there. So my point is, you do not always need to accept someone's offer of kindness. If you think they might be doing it just to be polite, or you can see that it's going to negatively impact them in some way, rather than accept, it might be more considerate of you to decline, especially if it's not something you really need right now. Offer them an easy and dignified way out of their potential lose-lose situation. Let them know that you won't find it rude if they put themselves first, ahead of you, where they deserve to be. And at the end of the day, whether they choose to accept or not is up to them. They may insist on it, and in that case, you might just have to accept. But I'm fairly certain they'll appreciate the consideration on your part. I know if I offered something to someone that was clearly at my own expense and they just accepted without hesitation, I might feel a little annoyed, especially if they didn't show any gratitude or acknowledgement for what I did. But if they refused and pointed out how this would impact me negatively, I would really appreciate them for it. So just something to consider the next time someone offers you something that is clearly at their own expense. Or if someone awkwardly decides to hold the door open for you when you're really far away. Anyway, that's it for today. If this resonated with you or you found this insightful, your thumbs up is appreciated. Don't forget to subscribe for more videos on personal development and self-improvement. And let me know in the comments about a time someone gave you an easy way out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.